just keep moving through some items. And we have copies of the agenda coming down. I hope not only for the table, but also the media if they don't already have it. Just quickly background on why we're here. As you know, in my first months as mayor, I initiated one-on-one and two-on-one meetings with you on a regular basis. And over time, I had feedback from some counselors that they did not feel part of the overall conversation. And you know, it's hard to have conversations with 9 people and make sure it's all in sync. So Steve Cox told me about the practice up in Denver where Mayor Hancock and the city council meet. They actually meet weekly, which would be maybe interesting to watch sometime. But it seems to work for Denver to have the council and mayor get together. And so this is the first attempt at that. I actually sent you a email back in October suggesting that we all get together, and I got positive feedback. You were busy with, of course, the budget process as well as a few other things, not the least of which is Colorado Springs Utilities Matters, and of course Memorial and now Banning Lewis. And so then I sent out a follow-up email to you on November 21st and invited you all to this meeting. So this meeting's been in the works now for about a month. And so here we are. And I've been making notes along the way of things I wanted to visit about, and I know you have. So at the end of this, we can either today or soon decide that we want to do this some more, how often, what's a better time. I know this is a difficult something to bring in terms of conflicts. So obviously we want to try to have everybody at the table. The idea, the purpose is to have a conversation where we're all in the conversation at the same time. See, now we've got a lot of visitors here, so I understand that will have some limiting factor on the conversation maybe, but over time hopefully that'll work out. So Scott and I met yesterday. Thank you, Scott, for taking that time and just talked about how to go about this. I guess I have 5 items. I think you've got 18 or 20, and we're not going to get through those all in an hour and a half. So what Scott and I talked about is just kind of going back and forth on the 2 agendas as best we can and get through it, and then carry over other items into a future meeting. So I'd like to start with whatever item you all would like to talk about first.
Well, thanks. And before I get started, thanks to everybody coming. The mayor's absolutely correct. If you think we're going to cover all these items, you came to the wrong meeting. And so we would like to talk. And so what I have done is, when we put together our list, I'm not sure that my colleagues and I necessarily assigned a priority to them. But having talked to several of them over the last couple of days, I know there's a couple items that they would like me to touch on. And so what I would like to do with the concurrence of my colleagues is kind of bounce around on our list based on the conversations I've had with several of my colleagues. And I think the first thing we'd like to talk about is something that you and I talked about here, Mr. Mayor, and that is the implementation of the 2012 budget and the changes that are going to go into that and how we're going to roll into that. You know, it's a new thing for all of us in the community, whereas you submit a budget, we have the option to change that, you have the option to veto, and then obviously we can override, which we did that on some of the items again this year. And so just like to talk about how we're going to implement those. I guess I want to start off with a procedural question. In the past, whenever we've had a budget and council's made their changes, in other words, and had the final budget they voted on, we always got kind of, if you will, the final copy of the budget. In other words, everything that got approved. And will we get that this time, and how will we do that? And just so we'll see what so we have in written form everything that was finally approved and voted on.
Well, to that point of the final budget, I would ask Steve Cox to address that. I would assume that would have already happened or was in the works. So do we know where we are, either you or Laura Newman, on getting the final budget published?